Hi everyone, this is Sima Levy with Nest Seekers at Contour Mortgage. Today is quite a treat, everyone. Not only do we have the CFO, Mr. Arthur Most, but we have the president of the luxury division at Nest Seekers, Mr. Shawn Elliott. Hi gentlemen, how are you?
Sima, how are you?
I'm doing bangly good.
All right, yeah. So,
Just got to an accent.
but you're good, right?
I'm all good.
Okay, that's all that matters.
Thank you.
So what's going on?
So I'm very honored to be here with the both of you. I just wanted tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a lot about both of you, but we'll start with Mr. Arthur Most. How did you get started in the mortgage industry?
Interesting question. I was an accountant, and my entry into this industry was, through being a CPA. I used to audit mortgage bankers. So back in the 90s, some of our clients would work with them, and ultimately in the early 2000s, one of them said, "Come on board," and then from there I got hooked. Because once you go from public and then you really get into the private side of business and the entrepreneurship, it just gets addictive.
Let's be realistic. You got hooked. We go from salary to, wow, I can make this much money actually initiating mortgages.
True, but not really true. In the beginning, what really pulled me over was the opportunity,
Right.
To really push myself. And I was a little bit bored, and I never wanted to feel, especially early in my career, I never wanted to feel capped. And I just felt very
Did that give you like a
restricted.
niche? Because it seems to me if I'm the guy doing the auditing, I probably know more about mortgages than anyone else. So you being that guy, did that give you a leg up in your industry?
I think, interestingly enough, it did, but not the way I thought. I just thought different than a lot of mortgage people. This industry is basically 85% salespeople. It's changed through the years. Now it's become a lot more with licensing, a lot more professional, and you have people who say, like, I want this as a career as opposed to a job. But it definitely helped me out just because the way I look at it from a numbers perspective, and then I apply that to sales as opposed to the sales and then numbers.
Mr. Shawn Elliott, how did you get started in the real estate industry?
So I went from fashion to real estate, and there's a lot of similarities, both.
Oh, great.
It's like, listen, I love fashion, and I also now love real estate. So I've been blessed to have two great careers. The first one, like in any business, I mean, in a perfect world, you go from hero to zero, and I went from hero to zero very rapidly back in the 80s and 90s with a company called Benetton, United Colors of Benetton.
I used to shop there.
Yeah, and so and it wasn't what people would bring to the register back in the 80s and 90s. It was how much they could carry to the register. That's the kind of business it was. But nothing good lasts forever, that. So as good as it was, we went then from hero to zero. The brand lost its cachet. Banana Republic came about, the Gap. People started doing what we did at half the price. Things changed. The advertising became controversial, and it was time to reinvent myself. And I felt, what is it I love most in life? Well, one of the things I love, is, beautiful cars. I love cars. I love homes, beautiful homes. I love beautiful women. I married one, my wife. And yeah, she's a smoke show, right? Oh, yeah. And, but the home thing was a passion. I really loved it. I was the guy that you'd find at an open house on a Sunday, and the real estate brokers used to point at me and go, "You see that guy over there? He will never buy this house. He shows up to every single open house." And the reason I did that was I just felt it was just something I loved, looking at beautiful homes. I love architecture, I love design, I love interiors. That's what really got me. But what really hooked me, we bought our house, I guess it's almost 30 years ago. We paid a lot 30 years ago. It was like $700,000. And 30 years ago, being in my 20s, it's a lot of money, 700 grand. I watched the real estate agent at the closing get a check for $50,000.
That was it.
Wow.
That was the aha moment for
hooked,
me.
yeah.
And then 20 years later, I'm like, this is like unbelievable. I first started in commercial, and that was like swimming with the sharks. And no disrespect to residential, but residential was like swimming with the dolphins. And started in 2001 working for Dottie Herman at Douglas Elliman. I was the #1 producer in the region within 12 months. I went from selling sweaters to selling houses, and I call it the dream, right? And then in 2002, I needed more pain, more responsibility, a glutton for punishment in my life. And I started my firm called Shawn Elliott, and we ran that to 2015. So basically ran it for, 2017 for 15 years, and sold it, and now I'm president.
You sold my first home.
I did.
Yes,
That's,
and I work for you.
I think that's 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah, incredible.
And
It was a lasting impression.
it was the lasting impression.
Thank God.
But we have a lot of, I do believe in the universe bringing people together. So there was one time that I was in, Shawn Elliott knows how to not only live the life, but also know how to cut the cost. So what do I mean by that? Here I am in California at the Montage, do you recall? I come out at the Montage and you said, Sima, what are you doing here? I said, I'm staying here. He says, why are you not at the W? Same thing and it's half the price. And I'm like, okay, but why are you staying at the Montage? So long story short, he invited my friends and I to come to the biggest, right, real estate property in Bel Air. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it wasn't the biggest, but it was the most expensive, I think,
expensive.
in the history. At the time, it was the most expensive house for sale in the history of the United States, $250 million.
Wow.
And 924 Bel Air Road, 38,000 square feet of what I call pure luxury. We're talking about 2 infinity pools, 3 movie theaters, a world-class spa, world-class staff, 4-lane bowling alley, $30 million auto gallery in the house. I mean, so Sima comes to visit with some friends, and you got to know Sima a little bit. She's dressed head to toe in Gucci and Fendi, a little pretentious, but we'll take it for what it is.
Oh,
it's okay.
I'm so spiritual.
You're so stylish, but it's a good thing. Listen, it's all, listen, I have to tell you, perception in this business is everything. People want to do business with people who are successful and look successful. So, you know, you have to drive the right car, dress the right way. You got to always have your nails perfect like Sima does. You know, in your case, your nails don't really matter. But,
They're perfect, though.
you know, but they are perfect. Yeah, I get a manicure too once in a while. But in reality, it's perception, and that's the business. And, you know, again, you could have zero money, you could have $1 billion, but, you know, again, people want to do business with people, number one, that they like and that they perceive as being successful, right? So anyway, we're going back to 924 Bel Air Road. Sima's in the house, and it is like, it's hitting all your senses, right?
It's overload.
It's overload. She had true luxury, sensory overload in this house after seeing like some Birkin bags made out of onyx, and then seeing these Louis Vuitton chests, she starts to cry. Okay.
I was an overload.
She was on sensory overload. I never saw anything like it, but
But
it
I'm
got
an artist.
it did feel good. Anyway, you know, that was fun, and you know, it was just fun spending time with Sima and her friends and getting her to know the property that I was flying every single week from JFK to LAX, and every single week back from LAX to JFK.
So we do appreciate you being here, and I know how busy everyone is. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to you, Arthur, throughout the years.
Can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
What got you to real estate?
That moment where I cried.
There was that moment.
It was that moment, and I said, you know, I am an artist, so everything I see and visualize gets me overwhelmed in a good way. But Shawn, the way he presented the home, the mansion, was almost like an art. And to me, it's all about the presentation, because, yeah, the check at the end of the day and the commissions are great, but I, through life, went through good, bad, and ugly before I got to good again. And I think that I appreciate people and what I can do for them and let them see my vision while understanding theirs, if that makes sense. Yeah, so at that moment I knew, but one day I approached Shawn Elliott and I said, what do you think? And he said, probably like no brainer, you'll be amazing.
And you are, and you're very successful at the end of the day. Like what you have done in 3 years, people don't do an entire career. So I think the other thing is that you're just such a people person, and people like you, and you have 1 million friends. This is the business of networking and the business of being likable. And I have to say, like any other business, 50% of the real estate business is being likable. People want to do business with people they like. Everyone likes Sima.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Thank you.
And the rest of it's hard work, right?
It's a lot of hard work, and that proves it today. Okay, so this question actually came to us via email. We want to know, what advice would you have for young couples, and this can go to both of you, trying to buy a home today? What should they do first, second, third?
Well, I think it starts with finding the home first before they get in contact with this guy, right? Because they got to find the house. But maybe I'm wrong. You know what? The right thing to do is
I was going to actually
get pre-qualified.
I think it flip-flopped
Yeah.
about 5, 6
Chicken
years
or
ago.
the egg?
Get an introduction, have that pre-qual letter that you get pre-qualify somebody, get their ducks in order financially first, right? You know, so that when they do find the house that they want, they're ready to pull the trigger.
And I think real estate and mortgage go hand in hand more than ever. And as I said, maybe it is somewhat simultaneous where you find a great real estate professional, you work with them, then you go through, you review your budget, the type of house you want. This way you're not wasting each other's time in particular. And when I say wasting time, it could be even deeper than that. It's you're going to set an expectation, like if somebody falls in love with a house that they just can't afford, you're better off not even seeing that house, in my opinion. And that's, again,
That I'll disagree with, but not saying whether you can afford it or not, but we can talk about that later. But I think you really hit on something which is so true. You have to have your ducks in order. In this market that we're in today, and listen, the market's changing every single day, but let's just go back, rewind for the last 2 years. If you didn't have your ducks in order with a guy like you, in a firm like yours, you'd probably end up not getting the house.
Correct.
Because you couldn't either commit to, you know, maybe you do a deal that's not subject to a mortgage, even though you're going to take a mortgage. But you had today, and last year and the year before during COVID, you had to say, you know, maybe I'll waive that mortgage contingency, but you were so certain because of Contour that you were going to get financed, you could go ahead and waive that contingency and end up getting that house, which you may not have gotten because somebody competing against you maybe was paying cash or was willing to sign off on that no mortgage contingency.
Correct. And with our relationship that we have with realtors, and we have a program, Secure Buy, that it's a commitment to before you find a property even. So that's one of the things that we'll do
I love that.
with buyers. They'll go out there and in essence, it is a cash offer. We competed and actually we're taking our offers over cash offers at the time because they knew that the financing was there. So if somebody who has cash in their bank, you know, they might say, I'll use my cash, but they really don't want to use their cash, especially where rates were the last couple of years. In the 2s and the 3s, it didn't make sense to use your personal assets.
Correct.
Obviously now, as we know, it's changing, and maybe that's a question coming up.
That is a question, sure.
But you know, maybe we'll touch on that on your question. But you know, that's what it was, and that's where I think what's nice about this last couple of years is the relationship with the realtor and the mortgage professional that really just they're in sync now, and hopefully it stays that way because when you have a good team, that's what gets everything done so much smoother, and makes what is a very uncomfortable, challenging process almost enjoyable on some level.
So Arthur, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it's almost like a catch-22. So if the interest rates are very low, right, people either use their cash or they want to buy money that is almost free with low interest rate. However, there's a catch-22 because now sellers are lowering the prices, right? So the houses are getting lower prices. So why not borrow it, let's say 5-6%, and perhaps refinance in the future? So what is the catch here?
It's an excellent question, and you know, the one thing that I think really has kept me so interested in this industry is it never stays the same for long. So as soon as it gets easy, it gets hard, and then as soon as it gets hard and you adapt to that, it gets easy again, and it's easy and hard in different ways. So it's guideline rule, like, you know, who qualifies, who doesn't qualify. The overall value of homes, you know, generally do increase over time because of inflation, but also employment. Employment's a major factor. The last, you know, factor that drives a lot of things is migration of people. So what's going on in Long Island, a lot of people they're retiring. They're the snowbirds. They move down to Florida or someplace down south or out west. So it's always changing, and that's really tying back to it. Is I love the fact that it's never the same thing twice, and it feels like even if it's similar cycles, each cycle's different, and that's what keeps it very, very exciting.
I think today's buyer, and we'll say the young buyer, maybe that's not sitting on a pile of cash, I don't think they buy the house. At the end of the day, they buy the payment, right? You know, what is it going to cost me per month to live here? And I think that's what it meant. So I could sell Sima a $10 million house right now in this room if it cost her $5,000 a month to live there.
Sure.
You'd buy a $10 million house like that.
I can afford that.
So, you know, yeah, I know you can. So,
No,
but maybe you could afford a $20 million house. But this is what the young people are thinking. So at some point, it's like the delta. So, you know, interest rates go up, prices may come down. Again, what's that monthly payment? That's all they care about. And during that 2.5%, 3% time, I mean, people are really stretching. and buying as much house as they could, locking in for 15 or 30 years, and knowing that, wow, look what I accomplished and look at the lifestyle I can have, knowing what my monthly payment's going to be for the next 30 years or 15 years.
It's an excellent point.
The other thing is I always try to show customers a little bit more than they want to spend. And the reason I do that is because, people have expectations of what it's going to cost to make them happy. It's never what you think. It's just not. Unfortunately, it just, you walk into a fashionista, a clothing store, whatever. She has one expectation, what she thinks she's going to spend when she walks in. Before you know it, she's going to find some other stuff that she likes. And, she's maybe buying something a little bit more than she wanted to spend, but that's just how real estate is. You walk in, you think $1 million is going to cut it, and your realtor shows you 30 homes at $1 million. That other realtor shows them one house at $1.5 million. Guess what? They buy that house that was $1.5 million for $1.4 million, and you lose the customer. So I always say take them out of the box a little bit.
I like that point. That's an excellent point.
Took a long time to learn that, unfortunately, the hard way.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of deals because I didn't show them that next level. I did with a celebrity recently, who California, Los Angeles, West Hollywood. Don't show me anything over $8 million. Don't show me. Don't show me. Don't show me. Don't show me. And very adamant. Parents, billionaires. Don't show my daughter anything over $8 million. 22 years old, buying an $8 million house. Not so terrible.
Can we ask you who it is?
I can't, but I'll let you try to figure it out.
Okay.
And so $8 million bucks. And then her friend, after showing them 30, 40 properties, was a realtor in Los Angeles and sold her a house for $11 million.
Is it a Kardashian?
It's close, though. Yeah, it's close. Yeah, but again, and a rule that I made that I know for 20 years, I broke the rule because of the pressure I was getting from the father-in-law and the mother and the daughter and the soon-to-be husband. That should give you a good hint. But
Pippin.
No, not married
sold
yet.
Their home. Sorry.
But anyway, sometimes out of the box. And then with interest rates, we talked about this sort of out of the studio, and this is an amazing lesson to be learned. My son just bought a house, and from the time he started negotiating the house until the time he actually went to closing or actually had a loan commitment, right? The rate went from 2.5% to 3.75%.
Wow.
In that time period.
Yeah.
And the reason why the negotiation took so long was because they were fighting over an air conditioning unit. Can you
That's
imagine?
hysterical.
So for $10,000 worth of air conditioning, it cost him 1.25% on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You do the math on that, it's in the hundreds of thousands.
It's a very expensive air conditioner.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So when you have a great loan officer or an amazing mortgage company like Contour, they're the experts. They see the trends. They're reading. They understand what the LIBOR is. They know what's going on.
They've seen it
listen
all.
to these guys. And if you can lock a rate in, and it's low, lock it in immediately.
Lock it in immediately.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock that in.
Favorite movie?
I'd have to go. I have two. It's Scarface and Wall Street. To say.
Oh, Wall Street.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Scarface. Why Scarface?
Why Scarface? Because I went to school in Miami.
That's
I was
right.
part of the Cuban crime wave, and I lived vicariously through Tony Montana. I have to say.
Yeah, Tony Montana. What's his favorite quote, Tony?
One of my favorite quotes in Montana would be his friend, this guy Omar, is hanging from a helicopter. Okay, he's sitting with this guy Sosa. And he points to the guy in the helicopter and he goes, I never liked him. I never trusted him. For all I know, he had my friend Fernando Gomez killed. That's history. I'm here. He's not. I got two things in my world. My word and my bunk. I don't break it for nobody. That's my favorite.
I like that. The word and the bunk. I break it for nobody.
That's right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Same question to you.
So I'm going to give two very different answers. One is obviously The Godfathers is to me.
Did you see The Offer? Just throwing it out there. Did you see The Offer? The Making of The Godfather?
No.
I'm out.
You don't like it?
You need to see The Offer.
All right, we'll go see it now.
Tonight, not go see it.
on
It's
Prime
8
or
episodes.
is it
You're going to
on?
watch it tonight. It is The Making of The Godfather. It is epic.
Okay.
I have
And you
to
will.
watch it
And if
too?
you love
Alright.
The Godfather, get
I
ready.
do love The Godfather. I like the epic
Me
version
too.
of it
I
where it's
love
like
The
right in a
Godfather.
row. They clean it up and cut it out. And then the flip side is I also love the Marvel movies. I don't know why. It's just
Funny.
So cool.
You
Yeah.
know, I think
Wonder
it's just
Woman.
well, that's DC though.
Who do you want to be if you were a Marvel character?
I think
Invisible
Iron
Man.
Man, just because.
He's my boy. I love it.
Yeah, I think
love
I
Iron
think,
Man.
And Robert Downey Jr.
I love
is just,
that.
you know,
I fell in love with him.
he's an amazing actor.
That's one of my favorite movies,
Yeah.
and I love Robert Downey.
Anything he's in, I like. It's
I like Less Than Zero, but don't judge me.
Yeah.
No, it's,
Really?
I did like him. I fell in love with him then, not the character, but just him. So yeah, I said previously it was Pretty Woman. I got a lot of heat and a lot of email. Why did I say Pretty Woman? I tell you why. Because the girl had boundaries. So she had a fairy tale, and she went from here to here, and she never budged, and she didn't move, sway left or right. She stuck to her boundaries, and guess what? She did get the prince. But this is in life, not just like a fairy tale.
Well, just before this, Shawn and I took a vote on what we thought your favorite movie was.
Yes.
It was Speed with Sandra Bullock.
That's
I
funny.
just, I'm kidding,
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but you know.
Yeah, I was thinking Too Fast, Too Furious,
Too Fast,
Tokyo
Too-
Drift.
I like that, yeah.
Tokyo Drift. Or,
So we'll explain to the viewers, literally about an hour ago, I was in a car accident that involved airbags, like all over the place. A little chipped nail, but it's okay.
she chipped her nail.
And no, I don't know what I did, but the car is not here. Yeah, but I'm here. So dedication, boundaries and dedication. Boundaries, dedications.
All right. I love that.
Next question. Arthur, biggest lesson learned.
Don't trust your, I mean, my lesson is to trust my intuition. When something feels right, it usually is right. When it's not right and you kind of talk yourself into it, it never works out for me.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah. You, Shawn?
Never give up.
Ooh.
Never give up. Never stop. Keep moving forward, no matter what's being thrown at you. If you don't give up, you get to the finish line every time.
Trust your intuition and never give up. I love that. Words of wisdom by two great men. With that said, I just want to acknowledge Robert Toll, who passed Friday. Biggest name.
81 years old, yeah.
Yeah, 81 years old, one of the biggest names in real estate. So just a little bit of prayer. He's built tens of thousands of homes. I'm sure you used Contour at one point. Nest seekers of Shawn, you knew Robert, and you knew the Toll brothers. Yeah, so just acknowledging him. May he rest in peace.
Okay. And I just want to add one thing. So I learned a lot about Shawn today, so thank you for coming in. And you know, what's interesting is you went from fashion to real estate, but you definitely make real estate fashionable. So again,
love that.
thank you for coming in.
I
love that.
that.
I love
That's
that. Thank
so
you.
Cool.
I love that.
Very, very cool. Thank you. We do have a lot in common, as I was a buyer at Bergdorf Goodman, so
Yeah.
maybe there is such a thing with fashion.
I think a
and
lot
real
of people
estate.
I know that are in real estate were in fashion, were in retail, were in
Interesting.
manufacturing, were garmentos, and yet pivoted into real estate. The best part about real estate, just so you know, same thing in mortgages. When I was in retail and I was in fashion, and I had my shops, you had inventory, right? And you needed to buy, you know, I had a lot of stores, but regardless, I could have millions of dollars worth of merchandise on the shelves at any given time. That stuff comes in from Italy. First of all, you have to pay U.S. Customs 20% before you sold a single sweater, but it gets worse. So then you have inventory sitting on the shelves. You've got millions of dollars at any given time in your stores that have to be paid for in 30 days, and 60 days, and 90 days, right? Then you have people stealing from you, right?
Yeah.
You got shoplifters from the outside. Internally, you've got your own salespeople stealing your merchandise, so you got shrinkage. And on top of it, it doesn't last forever. So if you have a sweater that costs 50 and sells for 100, after 60 or 90 days, it's already marked down 25% and 50% at the end of the day, right? So you've got millions of dollars worth of merchandise. It's got to be paid for in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You've got people stealing from you. I've been in real estate for 20 years. No one's ever stolen a house from under me. Okay, number one. Number two, I don't have to pay for it in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. You have the privilege of selling billions of inventory off the MLS. And if you put two people together, you connect the dots, you get paid a fee.
Yeah.
And so to me, like any other brokerage, to me, that's the home run. You don't have that in fashion, but you do have that in real estate.
I love that. That's, again, words of wisdom. Your favorite home that you sold?
It has to be 924 Bel Air Road.
It was.
Yeah, we sold it for $102 million ultimately, and worked 3 years again.
Wow.
Every single Tuesday morning, wake up at 3 in the morning, 6 a.m., JFK to LAX, 8:30. Land in Los Angeles, in my office by 9:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday night, red eye, back to JFK. 3 years, I'd say probably 3 million steps.
Yeah.
You know, we show that house a lot.
So just to capitalize on that, their office was in Liz Taylor's old home
Yeah.
with the actual furniture, photos of everything, Liz Taylor. They had a wall with all the billionaires on the wall, American billionaires.
You have a great memory.
Yeah,
You really
I did,
do.
I did.
Yeah. So,
But I did say it's not going to be an American, it's going to be a chic. Please let me
and it was. So why
And
didn't
it
you bring
was.
him? You would have earned a lot of money.
But it was my intuition.
Yeah.
No, but you brought him.
Well, it was a
because
guy from the
that's-
Middle East, but put all that aside, it was that wall, and I can't believe you remember, it was 14 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and listed every billionaire in the United States. Their name, their Palm Beach address, New York
Yeah.
City address, their Malibu address, their London address worldwide, and our job was to deliver the collateral, the assets of this particular home to the audience most suited to purchase it. I think I built at that time, and today it still stands, the absolute best database of wealth, and we use that to leverage in order to secure listings and as well as bring buyers to these very expensive homes that we sell.
Well, that's when it started, the overload, the sensory overload. It
Yeah.
was absolutely the most incredible presentation I'd ever seen.
It was fun.
Or witnessed. Yeah.
It was fun. We're coming back to you with an $88 million listing in Bel Air. We're launching it in January. I was just in Monaco, taking that house on the road amongst 4 other homes before I got back to New York last week. And I'll introduce you guys to that home at $88 million. It's 40,000 square feet. It's got an indoor pool, an outdoor pool, a full-size indoor basketball court, a 20-car auto gallery. It's really one of the nicest houses I've had the privilege to be in, as well as now be the listing agent. So you'll come to visit again?
Of course.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
You do a podcast from there.
You
Yeah.
could do a pie, you could
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
If I'm invited.
Everyone's invited. Everyone's
All right.
invited.
Yes,
Yeah.
everyone's invited. It'll be amazing. How do you suggest building equity today? I mean, it's very rough. Times are rougher than usual. Real estate has changed. Mortgage industry has changed. What do you recommend? How do you build equity, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and beyond?
I'll go first because I'm sure Shawn's gonna have a better answer than me because I'm old school conservative. This is what my dad taught me this. He's like, this is what you spend, this is what you make. So whatever you make versus what you spend, over time you will build equity, no matter what you do, no matter what what your profession is. Just live by that principle.
I like that.
Great principle. Yeah, I haven't lived by that principle, by the way. I just say you have to, if spend, make more, spend more, spend more, make more. You know what I mean? Just like, because it's not, you got to make money, right? My answer is real estate. And if you look at any billionaire and you look at the world of billionaires and ultra wealth and mega wealth, a lot of it's been done. Before tech came into the picture, it was always real estate. And my feeling is, even if it's your own single family home or it's an investment property, always look for an area that's undeveloped or undervalued and then get in. And then you talk about building equity. You get in with the right loan, and you obviously take it from Contour Mortgage. And you get in these areas that, again, that are undeveloped or completely undervalued. And there are plenty of undervalued places. Like, I believe Fort Lauderdale right now is the most undervalued area in South Florida. Miami, oh my God, so hot. Brickell, incredible. Sunny Isles, wow, right? Then you get up a little further, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, nothing's happening. Then you go a little bit further and the game is over. Boca, Delray, Highland Beach, Palm Beach, Manalapan, all those places went through the roof, doubled and tripled, yet Fort Lauderdale undervalued. So back to the investments. Go into places that you think and that you know are undervalued, invest in those places. They're not undervalued for long. Everybody gets hip and gets into it, and before you know it, you have an asset that's really appreciating in value. And to your quote, you're building equity.
I love that. So the new Long Island City.
Yeah, that's right. That was undervalued 20 years ago, and now look at it now.
I told you going to give a better answer than I.
No, I think both answers are incredible. Favorite song?
Oh, great. Hotel California.
Oh.
Not even the Eagles. There's not even a doubt. That's the song.
Okay, and so appropriate for you, Mr. Shawn Elliott.
It makes me feel like I'm in California. I love it.
Yes, I love it.
And by the way, when we were selling that house, if you remember correctly, the first song that we played when you walked in the entry foyer, and we had 350 speakers in that house.
Yes, they did.
It was Hotel California, because a lot of the people that came to see the house were not from California, and the feeling that they got when they entered the house was California. And it's buying a home is really about a feeling.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true.
it's got to give you a feeling. And
like that Rihanna Grande song, what is it, Seven Rings? What did it say? I see it, I want it, I got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, I guess that's my favorite song.
I got to work on this. Now I'm learning from, I got to do more of these podcasts. No, but I've always been a U2 fan, so U2 won. Always resonates with me, that you've won life, and what you do with it, you control.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's funny, I plugged my wife's phone into the Apple CarPlay the other day in her car. She already had one song, and that was it. Like, downloaded in her iTunes. Like, I'm not sure what that meant, but hope there's no relationship between the two of you.
No, it's the universe.
We're like a yin and a yang, you know?
A yin and a yang.
Anyway, on that note, I got to jump.
Yeah, no, I know. This is actually should be your favorite quote. I gotta jump. That is Shawn Elliott's favorite quote. But I want to thank you, Mr. Arthur Most, and I want to thank you, Mr. Shawn Elliott. It was a pleasure to be with both of you. Such an honor. Not worthy. And
All fun.
Oh, very
good
worthy.
stuff. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. And this is the Gold Coast Connections. If you have any questions, please feel free to text down below or just type below. And I can't wait to see you next segment where we're going to meet this very famous dog.
All right.
All right.
All right, good
Thank
stuff.
you.